So here we are, continuing our story of the lost M53 motorway. And the first part was down at Junction 5, where the plan was completely different to what happened in the end. So after you've watched this, go and take a look at that one. But this time we're looking at the Morton Spur, which is Junction 2 to 2A. Now this junction here had two things. Let's zoom in a bit. Partly to feed the M53, which was going down the Fender Valley. It's partly to get to Morton Road here. So they used this big, massive junction and spur road to get to the Morton Road. That junction there used to be different when it was first constructed, because of course the Upton bypass wasn't here. But one idea, this goes back, and there was never any plans for it at all, but it was an idea to continue this spur across basically open fields, a few houses around here, but basically open fields across West Kirby, and to actually span the River Dee and connect it up to here at Moston, at the docks at Moston. The idea was that some trade, instead of going to the docks in Liverpool, could go to the docks in Moston, and that would then have a trunk road, if you like, which would connect quite directly to the M53 motorway, round through the newly constructed Kingsway tunnel, the new tunnel, straight into Liverpool. This never got any plans going. The bridge was mainly the biggest problem because other ships used the Dee, so it never ever happened. But that would have been something. Talk about going the long way round that we do now, of having to go all the way around to get to North Wales. Imagine just cutting straight across there. It would save an hour at least. But anyway, back to the junction itself. Now you see here, now this is an actual leaflet, a design showing people at the time what was going to happen. Of course, at the time they were going to build this Upton bypass. That didn't come until the late 80s or early 90s, was it? Correct me if I'm wrong on that one. But it did accurately predict that. It also showed you how Fender Lane would change. Let's zoom in here. See, the old road would come up Hoylake Lane, through Bidston Village, and over here. That's what the original road was. Because in the construction of the motorway, this dual carriageway was constructed, and the roundabout, which is at where Tesco is now, and this feeder road to Junction 1, and the spur here, which almost got motorway status to get up onto Leeso Road. That would have been another big spur similar to Junction 2, but it's fed from a roundabout, so it wasn't given motorway status. Let's go back to the early 70s when the motorway was being constructed. We can bring an old... there we go. So this is the 1970. This is building of Junction 1 here, under that extra spare road. Not very high detail on this, but you can see basically where it's going. You can see here the bridge. There's the old Fender Lane, which just went straight across. They're constructing the bridge here at the time, which eventually goes down to where the roundabout would be, roughly here. You can see how Hoylake Road as well, instead of going straight down to the roundabout now, how it curved round to the left through Bidston Village. You can see the difference here. You can still see the original curve of the road on the map there to where it is now. And also down here at Junction 2, the next junction, they're constructing these big flyovers and things like that. And of course we go down to the end at Morton Road here. This is where it did end. Now there's a roundabout here, and the road goes on. Let's see on the map there. There's a roundabout and the road goes round, which is the Upton bypass. And when we look what it was before any of that was constructed, You can see here that which one? Yeah, that's right, Roydon Road, which now connects onto the bypass, just went straight through. And you can see the other roads here. And you can see the fields here, which the bypass now goes onto. And the roundabout at Upton by Sainsbury's and the Shell garage, that was there. And of course that was just a straight road at a time. But we're kind of getting a bit beyond the motorway here. Let's go further down the motorway and have a look at junction 3 being constructed. Right, the bridge is not yet ready, so everybody here, there's the old co-op. Everybody here had to go temporarily round the big roundabout to carry on up Woodchurch Road and rounded this way to go down there. Does anyone remember that at the time? Or even before any of this was built? As we go down to junction 4. Junction 4 is being constructed here. And of course when we get down to junction 5, we can see the bridge, which is the topic of the other video, which is going to go down to Liverpool Road to connect the original direction of the M53. This was just going to be a spur junction onto the Ellesmere Port bypass. And you can see as well the Ellesmere Port bypass, as it was at this time, went round past Vauxhalls, which you can see there, and then basically just petered out at the time. You can see there it went from the dual carriageway down into one lane, and then here there's no dual carriageway motorway at all, and then it curved off there. Let's have a quick look at what it's like today. There's the original road that curves, Merseyton Road, and you can see what it's like there. So that's a quick insight to some of the construction and the lost parts of the M53. So go and check out the other video on the M53 Junction 5. So one other thing that's mentioned about this Junction 2 and 2A, it also features the unusual situation where the lesser road, the 5027, gets a flyover, while a main route, which is the motorway leading onto a bypass, just crosses a roundabout. This was supposed to be the most efficient in terms of cost and traffic flow. Something a bit geeky for you at the end.